Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Auritas Insights. Today, I have here with me Deepak Sood, CEO at Auritas. Deepak, I wanted to take some time to talk about data volume management. I think we kind of address that in many other occasions when we talk about the migration to S4, the prep phase, some of the benefits of, reducing the size of your database. But we never really address data archiving, what that is, what are the differences between archiving and all the other ILM, decommissioning. So, welcome. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started.
Let's go.
Awesome. So, Deepak, help me understand, what is data archiving? What does it consist of, right?
Data archiving, I'm going to take you down the memory lane. Archiving as a term has been used different ways in the past. Archiving was in the past used as a solution to do backups. It was also used as a solution for saying I have a mirrored copy in the system. But when SAP built the archiving process, they had one thing in mind: our customers' database sizes are gonna increase incrementally, and they would need to have access to their information even if it is not in their primary database. So they thought about building a tiered structure where you are able to segment your data, transactional data, without compromising your data integrity, without compromising the access to that information from the SAP's native T codes, reports, Fiori apps. But the data is not in the primary database. The database is stored onto a storage medium that could be, a secondary storage medium that is much cheaper. But at the same time, when you store that information, the question comes: would I lose performance? Would I lose linked information with access to documents or access to linked analytics platform? Again, SAP thought about it early on, and they built a function where none of those areas are compromised. You will have access to the information in a responsive manner. Now, would it be as fast as if it is in your S4HANA database? Probably not. But would there be a degradation of maybe a 25% response time? Possibly, but it is not noticeable. And with the same token, when you're trying to access information around related information with documents, with also linked platforms, SAP provides you with an ability to access all that information seamlessly with archiving.
So you talked about maybe it's not going to be as fast to access the information, but when we put into perspective the cost savings of moving a lot of the data from the transactional system to something a little bit more cheaper, right? It kind of balances itself out, right? You're going to be saving so much money. The system itself on the other side is going to be performing way better because it's not overloaded with data that is not accessed as frequently. So for customers, what are some of these benefits? What can they see as a change of doing the data archiving process?
In today's day and age, it all comes down to how responsive, how productive we are with our systems, and are we investing the right amount or right dollars for the right kind of data. So consider the fact that you are doing some SAP transactions, you are doing receivables and payables. Now, when you have that active data where you're doing certain kinds of accounts payable or receivables of your data, You want it in your responsive platforms. And if you have a production order that you're manufacturing, goods or finished goods, you want that data in your active system. But consider the fact, you have already made a payment to your vendor. You have already received the payment from your customer. The product has been built and now it is being shipped and all, but the production order is about a year or 2 years old. Does it require to be in your primary database? Absolutely not. The users will access that information thinking about how did that particular event happen. But the responsiveness of that piece is not required as what it is for your active data. And this is where data archiving comes into place, where we are able to make your system as efficient as it can be in an ideal environment. We will put the most valuable data in your primary system, like vis-a-vis your in-memory with S/4HANA or RISE platform. The data that is historical, we could, at one point also establish concepts like native storage extensions. Mm-hmm. But once it has really expired its retention or residence requirements, it's more residence requirements, you will find that you can archive the data. And this is where companies find the strongest ROI of their ERP systems. And our archiving initiatives many times are able to justify their return on investment within 5 months. And that's a very, very strong ROI.
So help me understand a little bit about when I can archive the data. You talked about residency and retention periods. How does that fit into the data archiving process?
Well, so great question, by the way. And then this is the biggest question any enterprise or any organizations who are looking at data tiering or data archiving is looking at. When is the right time to start this initiative? What kind of data can I archive right away? What kind of data is required to be kept in the system for an extended period of time? So let me segment it for you in a couple of ways. First, you have in your environment log data that is getting generated on a regular basis. In SAP, we call it the basis related data. You have transactional data, which is high volume that you are generating in your system. And finally, you have master data, which you are creating, but the volume at which you are generating that data is not as high as your transactional data. So you went live on RISE, and now you are active and doing all your transactions in the system. The first thing you want to look at is, how is your basis data behaving? When we do complementary database analysis for our customers, we find majority of our customers have their logs activated to a level 5 logging, which is the highest logging you can do in the SAP system, and they are generating so much logs, so much basis data. It is helpful early on when you go live to see how your system is behaving. Long term, once your system is stabilized, you don't need to. Now, what options do you have to manage that data? You archive that data. You're able to archive it and you can view it anytime later down the road. So the first piece that come into play is you went live. Within 2 to 3 months, you will see that you have an opportunity to archive all your basis related data in the system and build an approach for that. Very quickly, you'll realize right after there are transactional records that are coming along. Now, the conventional thought process is that once the record is business complete, you want to keep it in your system for a calendar year, fiscal year, or certain level thereafter in the system, and only then you archive. But you will also find there are a lot of transactional records. A typical example, transactional record could be an IDOC transaction, a goods movement transaction. You do not need to keep it for even a year in the system, knowing the fact that this particular record is already posted in your environment. So you will find within 6 months, there are opportunities that are being created in your system for addressing your transactional records. And as you evolve, the major transactional records, your financial postings, your sales order, your procurement data and all will become candidate for archiving, and we build an approach for doing it. And the final frontier is for data cleansing and compliance. How do you address your master data? And that comes as your phase 3 or phase 4 approach. So this is how I will suggest that you need to look into, but the timing to start your archiving initiative is, I would say, probably a month into your go live. That's when you should be seriously looking into these areas.
Mm-hmm. And we also talked a lot about even before then, right? When you're preparing to move to Rise and you're preparing to move to S4, archiving can be very helpful on reducing the size of the data that you move into the new system. And that's helping people get into a smaller, t-shirt size when they are, getting the agreement with SAP, or even just maintaining that long term, right? You moved into the new system. How can I make sure my data is not growing, that I need to pay for more storage? So help me understand, because if I do this once and my data continue growing, it just logically mean that I'm going to have to keep doing it every so often. Or is there a way that I can automate this process?
Yes. So you have asked two questions. One, the fact that if I'm doing an SAP S4HANA upgrade, should I be looking into data volume management initiative?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a brownfield or a system conversion and you want to design your infrastructure the right way, you have to look at archiving. If you do not look at archiving, I can guarantee you 100% you are investing huge sums of money into your hardware, into your licenses, that you're going to find have no value, and your ROI for doing this transformation initiative is going to reduce by a large amount. Now, we do analysis where we can size your system. We can tell how the system can be reduced down to what percentage, and many of our customers are able to reduce their DB footprint by 70 to 80% before they move to Rise on SAP. And it provides a really strong validation, a strong ROI for you to move towards S4HANA.
We help build the case to make the move, right? Sometimes it's we see a lot of customer coming to us as like, I can really justify spending all this money to move. But if you're, spending less money, moving into a modern system can be justified really quickly, right?
We do so many of these initiatives, Julia, where we work with an organization where we help them budget their S4HANA transformation. Because if you look at the current system and you say that you want to do a system conversion or a brownfield, it becomes a pretty large initiative from the overall cost, whether it is the consulting cost, the hardware cost, the license cost, and so on and so forth. The moment they look into archiving, that cost becomes so much more amenable, and you are able to see that how quickly the customers are adopting to the Rise platform once they look into data volume management and size their system the right way. So that's one piece that comes. But the other question that you had asked was, is this a one-time activity? It is not a one-time activity. You are still creating data. You are still creating a lot of information that you need to keep only for a limited amount of time in your most expensive storage platform. So what we did to help our customer was we built a product where it monitors constantly how your data is growing, how you're evolving in your system as your business processes and as your company is evolving and growing. And it will recommend you all the different objects, all the different techniques that you could use to reduce your DB footprint. Once it provides you with that recommendation, you agree to that recommendation, not only it will run those things in your system, but it will automatically schedule jobs to keep those size under control. So imagine the fact that I mentioned that your ROI of this initiative is less than 5 months. But to continue to be in the size that you have purchased from Rise or from any other hyperscaler and stay within the license guidelines that you have purchased from SAP, this automated running of the jobs will keep you right where you should be. And the recommendations will give you guidelines about how you can improve, what are the newer functions coming from SAP, and it keeps our, the license cost, the hardware cost, the consulting cost well under control for the customers.
And that's Data Assist, right? That's the product that we built even with SAP to address that issue.
This was the primary ask that we co-built with SAP, where SAP had requested a solution that can automate all of those things. And it has been widely adopted. It has received really good, response from our customer base on not only how they are able to reduce it in one go, but they keep their size under control under the guidelines of the licenses they have purchased from SAP.
Awesome. I have one last question for us to wrap up. And I think this is a question that we see a lot of customers having, right? It's more of confusion between archiving and decommissioning.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when, again, going back to when they're moving into the new system, what are they going to do with the old system? So if they want to retire an old system, it's often referred to as archiving, but that's really not the right terminology.
It is not.
Help me understand this difference and understand, when should I consider decommissioning? When should I consider archiving?
Very simplistic approach on that part. If you have an active system and you want to manage your active system size and control the growth, that's data archiving. Active system, control the growth. Now, let's talk about decommissioning. Decommissioning addresses the area where you have systems that are your legacy platforms. Legacy platforms include SAP systems, non-SAP systems, analytics systems, document management system. And if you want to sunset those platforms, but have access to all that information from a single solution, that's what decommissioning is all about. And we have a product to address all of those things using a product called Data Guard. So 2 separate areas: active system, archiving with Data Assist, legacy systems, one-time migration, and decommissioning with Data Guard.
Awesome. I think that was very easy. Thank you so much. So just for us to wrap up, see if I understand. If I really want to take a step into a smaller system size, or I'm going through a transformation process, the first thing I should consider is volume management. And I can do that through, you mentioned a complimentary assessment that Auritas offers to the customers, which is the DBO2 assessment or the data volume assessment. And you guys are going to tell me what I can archive. You're going to tell me the objects, everything that I need to know just looking at my system.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said better. You have it covered. That our complimentary assessment is able to give you all the guidelines of how you are able to control the size. First reduce the size and control the growth and keep your system optimized. We provide you that upfront. We are so confident in our delivery that we can commit to the fact that, folks, if you work with us, we can commit that we can reduce your DB footprint by 60%. Once we do that complimentary assessment, we can provide you those guidelines and we can stick with it and, while we are implementing the solution.
Awesome. And I think it's good to mention too that we are not going into the system and looking at the data. We just need the metadata that, you extract from your system in 10 minutes. You're going to have everything that we need to run this assessment. So that's really important for everyone to know that it's a quick assessment. You send us very quick info that your base system can take in 10 minutes, and we give you all this information. It's very comprehensive. Our customers really, really have a better understanding of their system, the ones the DBO2 recommendations are delivered.
Very good. Yeah, no, absolutely right. And there are no data privacy requirements, or we are not extracting any kind of, data that could have any sensitive information. We are only looking at your tables and their table sizes. So table sizes, table growth pattern, this is what we are interested in. And based on that, we can provide you a full-blown archiving strategy.
Awesome. So Deepak, that was very insightful into data archiving, data volume management in general, right? So thank you so much for the time. And for anyone listening that want to talk to some of our archiving and volume management experts, they can always reach us on our website, www.auritas.com. So thank you so much, Deepak. We'll talk later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.